In today's English lesson, we are going to look at the conversation between President Zelensky of Ukraine and President Trump of the United States. This one went a lot more smoothly than the last one at the White House. But still, I wish President Zelensky would have used an interpreter for answering those tricky questions. Let's take a quick look at the first part of this conversation, and then I will come back and teach all of the tricky terms.
You want to understand? I can. Thank you so much. So first of all, we have possibility now to buy weapon from the United States. We are thankful for this program and this opportunity. We are thankful for Europe. They pay for this, and through NATO program, for example, Pearl and etc. We have some programs where we can have some money to finance this, and this is a part. I think it's not a part for the war and to defend us. It also will be a part for security guarantees, to strengthen our army, to rearm Ukrainian army. This is very, very important. And it depends how much money we need to rearm. For example, the question of air defense, we spoke about it with President Trump, and I'm happy that we have now bilateral decisions and we work on it with production, American production. Nobody in Europe has so many air defense like Patriots, for example. We need it very much, and this is also about defending.
So, right off the bat, President Zelensky talks about fighting. He talks about needing more weapons. This should have been a conversation about peace. If you remember when Putin and President Trump met in Alaska, there was a big sign behind the two men talking about peace. Putin never mentioned about fighting Ukraine. Now, let's keep in mind during the conversation between Zelensky and Trump, Putin bombed an apartment building in Ukraine.
Well, this is what Putin's military did just this morning. 5 Russian attack drones striking this residential apartment complex in Kharkiv. Shocking images of destruction. At least 7 people killed, an entire family, including 2 children, among the dead.
Innocent people were killed. But I just think having these difficult conversations would be more helpful if Zelensky could use the language he is most comfortable with. At the beginning of this video, there was a disclaimer. Let's talk about what a disclaimer is in English. It is a message that says, hey, I'm not responsible. The paper had a disclaimer saying that the advice might not be correct. Now, in this English lesson, I am sure the English lesson itself will be all correct. But I am giving my opinion a little bit more in this English lesson, and I don't want to forget all of the people who have been hurt or killed in Ukraine. All of the people in Russia who are suffering and don't want this war. I also talked about an interpreter. Let's talk about what an interpreter is. It's a person who translates spoken language. The interpreter helped the two leaders talk to each other. If Zelensky had an interpreter this time, I think there would have been fewer misunderstandings. All in all, the meeting went fairly well, a lot better than the last one. And President Zelensky has been working very hard on his English and trying to fight a war at the same time. President Zelensky talked about rearming Ukraine. That means to give weapons or supplies again. When you see re at the beginning of an English word, think again. The country had to rearm the army after the attack.
It also will be a part for security guarantees, to strengthen our army, to rearm Ukrainian army. This is very, very important.
Let's take a second to practice that V sound just in case you're having trouble. What you want to do is have your teeth touch your bottom lip. Let's try saying this word. Van, van, voice, voice, vote, vote, very, very. Please let me interrupt this English lesson for just a second. If you are looking for a speaking partner, I can be your speaking partner. If you check out the description below, there is a link that will take you to learn more information. It does cost some money, but I have been teaching for 20 years. I will not steer you wrong. Yes, it does cost money, but right now I am offering a coupon for 10% off. Use the code SUMMER10 at checkout to get your 10% off. If you want to improve your English speaking, check out the link below. Now, back to the English lesson.
I think the good news, we make the best military equipment in the world by far. You mentioned the Patriots. How good are they?
Systems.
We have systems, they're literally 100% foolproof. And it's really like shooting two bullets, two bullets hitting each other in the air in a space like this. The chances, 100%. It's 99 to 100%. So we sell the equipment to NATO. And NATO does what, I don't know what the arrangement is that you have with, but I know that they want you to have the equipment. And we're getting the best equipment in the world, but they pay us for the equipment.
What if something is foolproof? That means something so safe or easy it cannot fail. A fool in English is a person who is not very smart. So something in English that is foolproof means it's so easy that even a fool could do it. This plan is foolproof. It works every time. So of course, when you are talking about something as complicated as peace between Ukraine and Russia, nothing is foolproof.
I guess the number is well over $300 billion. That was under Joe Biden, a corrupt politician, not a smart man, never was. By the way, go back 40 years, he was not a smart man 40 years ago either, but now he's in particular bad. This was done by a corrupt administration that shouldn't have been in, and frankly, if the right results of the election were given, if I were president, this war would have never taken place, and he would have been very happy because he would have liked to have seen. I mean, they went through hell. He went through hell. This war would have never happened, and the people that were killed, a couple of million people, a lot of people with soldiers and everything else, and the people that have been displaced and forced into other areas and other countries because of what's happened, none of that would have happened. And I'm just saying that he was a horrible president, whether it was the borders or this. He was just a horrible, corrupt president.
Now, this is totally inappropriate for Trump to be talking about Biden, a former president, in front of President Zelensky, another important world leader. But Trump throws Biden under the bus. Let's talk about that idiom. It means to blame someone else to protect yourself. She threw me under the bus so she wouldn't get in trouble. President Trump loves to use words like corrupt and rigged and fraud, and we will talk about all three in this English lesson. But let's talk about corrupt first. He says Biden was corrupt. That means doing dishonest or illegal things, often in power. The corrupt mayor took money for himself. Now, even though this term is not used in the conversation, Trump implies that Biden has some sort of mental decline. That is a very polite way to say someone is losing their mind. We might say in English, let's talk about what mental decline is. When someone's thinking or memory gets worse. And this usually happens when a person gets older. The doctor checked for signs of mental decline in the patient. President Trump says the 2020 election was rigged. That means fixed in a dishonest or unfair way. People thought the game was rigged, so the winner was not fair. Yeah, he thinks he should have won the 2020 election. Let's talk about the English phrasal verb kiss up. It's almost like an idiom because it has nothing to do with actual kissing. It means trying too hard to please someone in power. Trump loves it when people kiss up to him. He loves it when people tell him he's doing a good job. I don't think the leader of another country should have to kiss up to Trump, but he loves it. Notice how Zelensky says thank you to Trump a lot. If you remember from the first meeting, Trump really needed to hear Zelensky say thank you, thank you. Here is a sample sentence for kiss up. He is always kissing up to the manager.
Because he would have liked to have seen. I mean, they went through hell. He went through hell.
Trump says Zelensky has been through hell. I think all of the people in Ukraine have been through hell. Of course, the people in Gaza right now are going through hell. Let's talk about what that means. Had a very hard or painful time. He went through hell after losing his job. In the picture, it looks like some people are maybe living under a bridge. They don't have a home. They are homeless. I am sure they are going through hell. I want to talk about mail-in ballots and off topic at the same time. I mean, Zelensky and Trump were sitting down to talk about peace, and then a reporter asks an off-topic question about mail-in ballots.
Out on social media.
All right, Brian, go first.
You pushed out on social media about doing away with mail-in ballots and potentially electronic voting machines. Can you expand on that and how important
Well,
that is?
that's a very off-topic, just really quickly. Mail-in ballots are corrupt. Mail-in ballots, you can never have a real democracy with mail-in ballots. And we, as a Republican Party, are going to do everything possible that we get rid of mail-in ballots. We're going to start with an executive order that's being written right now by the best lawyers in the country to end mail-in ballots because they're corrupt. And do you know that we're the only country in the world, I believe, I may be wrong, but just about the only country in the world that uses them because of what's happened, massive fraud all over the place. The other thing we want change are the machines. For all of the money they spend, it's approximately 10 times more expensive than paper ballots. And paper ballots are very sophisticated with the watermark paper and everything else. We would get secure elections. We'd get much faster results. The machines, I mean, they say we're going to have the results in 2 weeks. With paper ballots, you have the results that night. Most people, but most people, many countries use paper ballots. It's the most secure form. So between paper ballots, very, very important, paper ballots, and I think maybe even more important, the mail-in voting. We're going to end mail-in voting. It's a fraud. If you have mail-in vote, even Jimmy Carter with this commission, they set it up. He said the one thing about mail-in voting, you will never have an honest election if you have mail-in. And it's time that the Republicans get tough and stop it.
If something is off topic and Trump turns to Zelensky and says, I'm sorry, or something like that, this is off topic, it means not about the main subject. The question is off topic. We are talking about history. We are talking about peace. It just doesn't belong here. And let's make no mistake about it, Trump's English isn't the best. Everybody makes mistakes in English, but he says one time, he goes, in particular bad.
But now he's in particular bad.
It's not really good English. Maybe he should have said it's in particularly bad shape, which is pretty tough to say, but that's the correct English. It is in particularly bad shape. Even I have trouble saying that. Oh, and President Trump loves to mention how Putin said this war never would have happened if Biden didn't get elected in the first place. If Trump had been in power, Russia never would have invaded Ukraine. But back to these mail-in ballots. Trump says he is going to fix this. I'm not sure if Trump knows or not, but the elections are not handled by the president. They are handled by each of our 50 states. For example, in my state, you can go to vote and you don't have to show an ID like a driver's license. If you go to vote in Texas, you have to show an ID. Trump says at one time he wants to get rid of mail-in ballots. It's pretty much what it sounds like, votes that are sent in by mail. Trump has no power to affect the elections in each state. Many people used mail-in ballots to vote from home. Fraud. Trump loves to talk about how there is fraud in politics. Fraud is a lie or trick to get money or power. I'm pretty sure he has called the Biden presidency a total fraud. She went to jail for fraud because she lied about her business.
Because with men and women's sports and with transgender for everybody and open borders and all of the horrible things, and now the new thing is they love crime. They're fighting me on the fact that I've made Washington, D.C. safe. We're not going to get mugged, beaten up, or killed like all the people you've been watching get so badly hurt. I'm glad, I hate to take your time with this, but I'm glad you asked me that question. Sorry. We're going to stop mail-in ballots because it's corrupt. You know, when you go to a voting booth and you do it the right way and you go to a state that runs it properly, you go in, they even ask me, they asked me for my license plate, for identity. I said, I don't know if I have it. They said, sir, you have to have it. I was very impressed, actually.
Trump also mentions transgender while talking about peace with Ukraine. It's totally off topic. But if somebody is transgender, they are a person whose gender is different from the one given at birth. For example, if somebody was born a boy or a male and they feel like they should be a woman and they try to dress and look like a woman, we could call them transgender. The school supports transgender students.
And now the new thing is they love crime. They're fighting me on the fact that I've made Washington, D.C. safe. We're not going to get mugged, beaten up, or killed like all the people you've been watching get so badly hurt. I'm glad, I hate to take your time with this, but I'm glad you asked me that question.
They also talked about how federal troops are now kind of in charge of our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., and he talked about people are no longer afraid of being mugged. What does that mean? Attacked and robbed in public. Mugged and robbed, like for your cell phone or money, they're pretty much the same thing. She was mugged while walking home at night.
Now, we got to stop mail-in voting, and the Republicans have to lead the charge. The Democrats want it because they have horrible policy. If you have mail-in voting, you're not going to have many Democrats get elected. That's bigger than anything having to do with redistricting, believe me. And the Republicans have to get smart. We're not going to have a country. I said for a long time in rallies, you need borders, and you need free and fair elections.
Lead the charge. What does that mean? To be the first or strongest to start something. She led the charge to make the park cleaner.
What security guarantees do you need from President Trump to be able to make a deal? Is it American troops, intelligence, equipment? What is it?
Everything. And really, it includes two parts. First, strong Ukrainian army. That's what I began to discuss with your colleagues. And it's a lot about weapon and then people and training missions and intelligence. And second, we will discuss with our partners. It depends on the big countries, on the United States, on a lot of our friends.
And Mr. President, are you going to commit American troops to that NATO-like protection in order to get President Zelensky to a deal today?
Well, I don't know if you define it that way, but NATO-like, I mean, we have people waiting in another room right now. They're all here from Europe, biggest people in Europe, and they want to give protection. They feel very strongly about it, and we'll help them out with that. I think it's very important. I think it's very important to get the deal done.
You've been involved with the peacekeeping in Ukraine since your first day in the administration. What would you say to the Ukrainian people right now who are suffering under the Russian attacks and hoping that the American people will stand with them?
Well, I know Ukrainian people. I've known many over the years. They're great people. They're smart. They're energetic. They love their country. I mean, they love their country, and we want to get this war ended. That's all I can do. I love the Ukrainian people, but I love all people. I love the Russian people. I love them all. I want to get the war stopped. Very important.
Mr. President, was there any aspect of your discussion with Vladimir Putin that left you disappointed?
Look, we just spoke to, I was just telling the president, I just spoke to President Putin indirectly, and we're going to have a phone call right after these meetings today. And we may or may not have a trilat. If we don't have a trilat, then the fighting continues. And if we do, we have a good chance. I think if we have a trilat, there's a good chance of maybe ending it. But he's expecting my call when we're finished with this meeting. Thank you very much, everybody.
Let's go, guys. Thank you, press. Let's go. Let's go. Move. Come on, guys. Let's go.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, press. Thank you. Keep moving. Thank you, guys. Keep moving quickly. Let's go.
Thanks, guys. Keep going.
They also talked about NATO and Article 5. It does not seem that Ukraine is going to be a part of NATO anytime soon, but they might have the privilege of Article 5. Let's talk about what Article 5 means when it comes to NATO. It is a rule by NATO, and it means if one country is attacked, all must help. So if Russia were to attack Ukraine again, if they were under Article 5, that means all of the other NATO countries would have to help protect Ukraine. Because of Article 5, all NATO members must defend each other. If you've seen some of my previous English lessons, you will know trilateral, but Trump says trilat. It's short for trilateral, meaning a meeting with three sides or countries. The US, Ukraine, and the EU had a trilat meeting. But it seems like instead of having a trilateral meeting where Trump, Zelensky, and Putin would get together, it might only be bilateral, meaning Zelensky and Putin would meet. Ushered out. At the end of the meeting, the reporters were ushered out of the room. That means politely made to leave. The guard ushered out the man after the meeting. We can see those reporters being ushered out right now. They are basically saying to the reporters, you have been here long enough. We need to get down to real business. We need to meet with the other EU leaders. Congratulations, you made it to the end of another rather difficult English lesson. Don't forget, I am offering private tutoring to help you improve your English. Check out the comments section for more information. Also, if you're looking for another English lesson about this topic, you will find one right down there. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.